Tonight on New Zealand. Popular New Zealand confectionery item taken off local shelves. We track the story of an outspoken, controversial Dunedin musician. Bundy of the week, Simon Bridges, is up to his usual muggy antics. And Bundy Standards Authority, complaints for and a barrage of bad taste. That and more tonight on New Zealand. The Broadcasting Standards Authority enters our headlines tonight following a slew of complaints regarding the use of Te Reo Māori in local broadcasting. The BSA reports that the number of complaints to broadcasting authorities this year alone is 5 times the annual average in recent history, bringing the total number of complaints to an eye-watering 25 complaints, a staggering 2 of which becoming formal complaints. These complaints echo the criticisms of formerly notable New Zealanders in recent years such as Mike Hosking and Bob Jones. The irony of Hosking, of all people, writing an op-ed suggesting that the problem with Te Reo Māori is that nobody is interested in hearing from Mike Hosking at all was not lost on this anchor. At the time of broadcasting, less than 5% of all Kiwis are capable of holding a conversation in the original language of New Zealand, in sharp contrast to the majority of Kiwis who would not willingly hold a conversation with Mike Hosking, even in their own native language, whatever that may be. But what is to be done about the problem? Surely it wouldn't be cricket to simply allow these prominent whingers to simply fade away into irrelevance and obscurity. Surely their complaints regarding New Zealanders speaking an official New Zealand language in New Zealand merit some form of legal action. When reached for commentary, the BSA clarified that none of the complaints detail any form of tangible harm, because of course they fucking don't. We did not bother approaching either Hosking or Jones for comment.
Yeah, Roger.
Those fucking things coming out of the side of the camera, man. This week, after a typically eerily quiet Facebook group sparked to life, Dunedin musos are left wondering just who the fuck Doc Sanchez is and what are his visions for the city's music scene. In a burst of contrived, sarcastic applause-worthy attempt at creativity, the so-called Sanchez compared Dunedin musicians to a bear, adding on that he believed that this simply wasn't good enough. While some points were made by Sanchez regarding underpayment, he followed on with stating his opinion that Dunedin bands had killed the town's live music scene by having little expectation in respect of requesting payment for performances. I'd like to go on record and state, after sampling some of your music, Sanchez, as far as setting a low bar goes, Mr. Sanchez, you are undoubtedly an expert putting on a public clinic for anyone brave enough to grit their teeth and bear witness, Dr. Sanchez. I'd request 2 minutes of my life back, but I am without doubt you'd want to charge that to my credit card too, Mr. Sanchez. We sent our leading Dunedin music expert, Scott Freeman, out to interview Mr. Sanchez, but given the high cost of his interview fee, we were unable to secure him. Nevertheless, we will continue to cover the story as it unfolds. Cheers. And this week's winner of New Zealand's coveted Bundy of the Week award goes to former National Party leader and IQ negative ventriloquist dummy Simon Bridges. As Mr. Bridges was a clear contender for the 2020 Bundy of the Year award, it was only to be expected that he would sooner or later secure himself the Bundy of the Week decoration. Prior to an investigation and review into the internal decisions that led Bridges' Nationals party rabble of money-hungry vampires to their crushing defeat in the 2020 election. Both Bridges and fellow failed prime ministerial candidate and man who has had foreskins grafted onto his eyelids, Todd Muller, were together accosted by goons at the Auckland airport. Sorry. When questioned by media about the substance of the impending review, Bridges settled for a disparate tactic in order to sidestep answering any questions pertinent to both the meeting and the upcoming review. I don't like this line of questioning, particularly when I thought you were approaching me about Meghan and Harry. So I'm going to leave right now, said a tearful Bridges, referring bizarrely to the recent appearance of the celebrity couple on the formerly noteworthy Oprah Winfrey show. Predictably, there were no takers amongst the gaggle of media seagulls solo ranking they're assigned to waylaying numpties such as Muller and Bridges in a public setting. As a result of the lack of interest in Bridges' obvious turgid erection for anything related to the British monarchy, he shuffled sadly out of the nearest exit, only stopping momentarily to ask, "Are you sure you don't want to ask me about Meghan or Harry? Anything? Last chance." Perhaps fortunately, there is precious little insight to be gleaned from what Bridges might have had to say on the topic of the internal review. Or any topic for that matter.
Nothing like an Eskimo pie. I like it, I like it, I like it a lot. There's nothing like an Eskimo pie. There's nothing like it. Nothing like an Eskimo pie. Ooh, nothing like an Eskimo pie.
The Aboriginal New Zealand confection, the Eskimo, has this week been replaced in a continuation of the epidemic political correctness and Zoomer woke washery, which threatens to destabilise and undermine the very foundations of our learned society. The extant benefactors of the Scott and Shackleton estates have, through their representatives, issued a joint statement accusing the international Mondelez cartel of attempting to deflect blame for what is a disgustingly and colonial insensitive... I can't read that now. Fire whoever fucking wrote this. Seriously. So I wasn't expecting blame for what is a disgustingly colonial and insensitive suite, and have both vowed to instigate expensive and vexatious legal action. Ranfurly sheep and beef farmer Johnson Cockburn,
It's Coburn.
it says here Cockburn, who called up our studios and offered his opinion without any solicitation on our part whatsoever, stated, "No more Eskimo pies. No more Darkies toothpaste. They've banned Indian giving and Chinese burns, and the pub refuses to serve me an Irish car bomb. Gone are the days when proud men such as our forward-thinking forefather Paul Holmes could make a light-hearted, racially intoned jest and receive nothing more than a slap on the wrist and a roll of the eyes from his adoring fan base here in our Aotearoa, land of the long white cartel."
Sometimes I'm down, sometimes.
That's our show. Thank you for joining us. This has been New Zealand, current affairs from New Zealand. I'm Richard Pullman.
I really wanted to come to New Zealand, first of all, and then today when I looked at it, I realized 100%. We're looking at the railway station with the Maoris. The Maoris are going to be great because a lot of the profits are going to be going toward their education and healthcare and other things. And
I know what you're saying, Mike. You shouldn't be throwing stones in glass houses. You know what it's like to be persecuted for having fashionable here. But here's the difference. Firstly,
these ones have faces.
Well, I think the first thing that the most essential
Which
thing that
I don't
we're
like.
trying to achieve
We don't need
is
faces
to
really on our
make the
candy.
public aware that the
Actually,
Maori language
I
is
think
not
faces
dead
make it
and
harder
has
to
no
do
real hope of
almost
dying.
everything.
The Maori language is
I
a
try to
very real
avoid
and living thing. You can see this. It's a prime language of the Maori.
Which I think is a
Not
good
only
idea.
that,
I think that's good. I think
half of
everybody
our
should avoid
towns-
eating faces.
Well, more than half
They
of our
have little
towns in New
arms,
Zealand
they
are
have,
Maori ones. The street names are Maori.
Fur, hoods, like many traditional Inuit people wear.
moral of the story, aim higher. Stop being so average. Happy days. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sanctions.
For limited, and all you gotta do